You don't get to question my choices, she said when she showed up with her ex to the dinner I'd planned. I said, you're right. I don't. Paid the bill and left. Blocked her in the Uber. 2 weeks later, she saw me at a restaurant with her best friend. On a date. She caused a scene. Hey viewers, before we move on to the video, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if you want to see more stories like this. Thanks. The maitre d' had just shown them to my table. My table. For two. A small, intimate square near the back of the restaurant, lit by a single, low-hanging lamp that made the polished silverware gleam. I'd requested it specifically. Now, Qley sat in the chair I'd been picturing her in for a month, smiling up at me with a look I couldn't quite parse. And Mark's hand was resting on the back of her chair. My feet stopped moving. The gentle hum of conversation, the clink of glasses, it all sharpened into a painful, high-definition focus. Mark, her ex, the one with the motorcycle and the condescending stories about his artisan coffee import business. The one she'd assured me 6 months ago was completely out of the picture, baby. He's so toxic. Alex, there you are, Qley said, her voice bright and performative. Look who I ran into outside. Small world, right? Mark gave me a slow, once over, his lips curling into a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Hey man, hope you don't mind the intrusion. Qley said it was a casual thing. My brain was a buffer wheel, spinning, failing to load the appropriate response. This wasn't the script. The script was, I'd arrive first, nervous. She'd walk in, looking stunning in the little black dress I knew she'd wear. We'd toast 3 years. I'd give her the pearl earrings currently burning a hole in my jacket pocket. A modest splurge for the woman who'd told me, just last month, that she was finally ready to move in together. I'd spent 3 weeks planning this. Bistro Lumiere. The name alone had made her swoon when she tagged it in an Instagram story. A place for real promises, the caption had read. I'd saved, called exactly 30 days out at 9 a.m., and secured the reservation like it was a military objective. I'd even confirmed with her this morning. 7 o'clock. Dress fancy. It's a surprise, but you'll love it. She'd sent back a heart emoji. And now Mark was pulling out the second chair, my chair, and settling into it with the ease of a regular. Alex, don't make that face, Qley said, her smile tightening at the edges. She patted the empty space beside her where a third chair was being hastily procured by a confused waiter. Sit down. Mark's in town unexpectedly, and he had nowhere to go. Be nice. The command, the tone. It was the one she used when I was being socially awkward, or when I questioned one of her more impulsive purchases. A gentle, public chastisement. I mechanically took the seat, my body moving on autopilot. The table was now crowded. Intimate was gone. This was supposed to be our anniversary dinner, Qley, I said, my voice lower and calmer than I felt. Inside, a tectonic plate was shearing off. She waved a hand, her bracelets jangling. And we're having it. With a friend. It's fine. More fun, actually. She glanced at Mark, sharing a conspiratorial eye roll. God, you'd think I brought a serial killer. Mark chuckled, picking up the wine list. Yeah, dude. Relax. It's just food. Qley told me this place was good. I've been wanting to try it. Qley told him. The words landed like stones. She'd talked to him about this place. Our place. My planning, my surprise, had been a topic of conversation between them. The waiter arrived, hovering with palpable discomfort. Can I get you gentlemen a drink to start? Perhaps a bottle for the table? I'll have a Macallan 18. Neat, Mark said, without looking up from the menu. We'll have a bottle of the Pinot Noir, Qley said, pointing to the second most expensive option, the one from Willamette Valley. Alex loves Pinot, don't you, babe? I did. I'd mentioned it once. She'd remembered to use it now, as a prop in this performance of normalcy. I didn't answer. I was watching her. The way she leaned slightly toward Mark as she looked at the menu. The way she laughed too loudly at his joke about the pretentious description of the duck confit. This wasn't a chance encounter. This was a statement. A parade. She had brought her past to sit at the table of our present, and I was expected to pay for its meal. The drinks came. Mark swirled his whiskey. Qley sipped her wine, leaving a red smudge on the rim. I left mine untouched. The conversation was a bizarre, three-way torture. Mark held court, talking about his latest venture, something about NFTs and athleisure wear. Qley listened, rapt, interjecting with, "That's so brilliant, Mark. a level of enthusiasm I hadn't heard from her in months. Finally, during a pause as Mark scanned the room for our harried server, I tried again, quietly just to her. "Qley, seriously, what is this?" She turned to me, and the polite mask slipped for just a second. Irritation flashed in her eyes. Then it was replaced by that cool, dismissive smile, the one that always made me feel small and foolish. "Alex, what is your problem? He's a friend. We're having a nice time. You're the one making it weird." She took another sip of wine. "You don't get to question my choices, especially about who my friends are." She leaned in, her voice dropping to a venomous whisper meant only for me. "It's unattractive." The sentence hung in the air between us, crystallizing everything. "You don't get to question my choices." It wasn't about Mark. It was about power. It was about her asserting, in the most humiliating way possible, that her allegiance, her respect, was something I had to earn by silent compliance. And I had just failed. The noise of the restaurant, which had been a roaring in my ears, suddenly drained away into a silent, clear vacuum. I looked at her, really looked, and I didn't see the woman I loved. I saw a stranger performing an act of casual cruelty. I saw the 3 years of support, of listening to her work dramas, of driving across town at midnight for her favorite ice cream when she was sad, of planning a future. I saw it all being tossed onto the table like a used napkin. A profound, chilling calm settled over me. The confusion, the heartbreak, the rage, they were still there, but locked behind a thick pane of glass. I was on the outside now, an observer. I pushed my chair back. The legs scraped softly on the hardwood floor. Qley looked up, annoyed. Mark raised an eyebrow, a smirk playing on his lips, expecting a scene. I didn't give him one. I stood up, adjusted my jacket, and caught the waiter's eye with a small nod. He hurried over. "Yes, sir? Is everything? Could I have the bill for everything ordered so far, please?" My voice was flat, polite, utterly devoid of emotion. "Alex, what are you doing?" Qley hissed, her performative cheer gone. I ignored her. The waiter looked panicked. "Sir, your entrees haven't even, just the drinks and whatever appetizers are in the kitchen." "Thank you." The waiter scurried off. Qley stared at me, her mouth slightly open. Mark leaned back, enjoying the show, but his smirk was now tinged with uncertainty. He wasn't the center of attention anymore. The bill came on a little leather tray. I didn't look at the total. I placed my card on it, handed it back. A minute later, I signed the slip, added a generous tip for the waiter's trouble, and slid my card back into my wallet. I finally looked at Qley. She was flushed, a mix of anger and dawning panic in her eyes. She hadn't planned for this. She'd planned for me to seethe quietly, to play the cuckolded boyfriend, to pay for their meal and absorb the insult. My calm exit was off script. "You're right," I said, my voice still that same, even tone. "I don't." I turned and walked out of the restaurant. I didn't look back. I didn't hear if she called my name. The cool night air hit my face, and I took a deep, shuddering breath that felt like the first one in an hour. An Uber was idling by the curb. I got in. As the car pulled away from the curb, my phone vibrated in my hand. A text from Qley. "Really? You're just going to leave? That's so immature." I looked at the words on the glowing screen. I felt nothing. No sting, no urge to reply. It was just noise from a place I had already left. My thumb moved with a mechanical certainty. I opened her contact. "Block this caller." A confirmation prompt appeared. Yes. I went to Instagram. Found her profile. Block. Facebook. Block. With each tap, a weight lifted. Not the weight of grief. That would come later, but the weight of her access to me. The weight of her judgment, her dismissal, her choices. The city lights blurred past the window. The driver had some soft jazz playing. I leaned my head against the glass. The dinner was over. The relationship was over. All that was left was the quiet, echoing space where the future used to be, and the first, faint sense of something that, in time, might feel like freedom. The silence in my apartment was a physical thing. It had a weight, a texture. It was the opposite of the noisy restaurant. It was hollow, and it echoed. For the first 48 hours, I moved through it like a ghost. I didn't cry. I didn't smash anything. I just existed in the negative space she had left. I'd wake up, and for one merciful second, I'd forget. Then the memory would return. The sight of Mark's hand on her chair, the feel of that third, cramped seat, the cold finality of her words. "It's unattractive." A hot, Sick shame would wash over me, followed by a rage so pure it made my teeth ache. I'd given her a sacred night, and she'd turned it into a joke. A power play. I'd been her straight man in a cruel comedy for two. But I had one rule, etched in steel in my mind. Do not reach out. Reaching out would be oxygen to her narrative. It would be proof I was emotional, immature, making a big deal out of nothing. My silence was my only weapon, my only dignity. So I sat in it. I let the waves of hurt and anger crash over me, and I didn't pick up the phone. I called my friend Ben, not a mutual friend. Ben was from college, lived across town, and thought Qley was high maintenance, but had always kept it to a raised eyebrow. I didn't give him the dramatic play-by-play, just the facts. She showed up to our anniversary dinner with her ex, said I didn't get to question her choices. I left and blocked her. Ben was silent for a long moment on the other end. Then, a low whistle. Jesus, Alex. That's calculated. You okay? No, I said honestly. But I will be. Just needed someone to know. He didn't offer platitudes. He said, come lift weights tomorrow at 7. Grunt at things. It helps. I went. I grunted. The physical exhaustion was a cleaner pain than the mental spiraling. I threw myself into work, taking on a complex data analysis project that required total focus. I cleaned my apartment until it shone, purging it of any trace of her. A forgotten hair tie on the nightstand, a half-empty bottle of her favorite conditioner in the shower. Each item felt like disarming a bomb. I placed them in a grocery bag and put it in the storage locker downstairs. Out of sight, but not yet out of mind. The grief was there, but it wasn't for her. Not the her who sat across from me at Bistro Lumiere. It was for the idea of her. The woman who used to curl into my side on the couch and tell me about her dreams. The one who'd cried when I nursed her through the flu. I missed that Qley with a ferocity that was terrifying. And then I'd remember her cold smile, and the mist would curdle into a deep, profound sense of stupidity. How had I not seen this capacity in her? Day 3. My phone buzzed with a notification. A text from an unknown number. The preview lit up my lock screen. Unknown number. Are you seriously still sulking? It was just dinner. You overreacted. We need to talk. My heart hammered once, a dull, painful thud. Not from hope, but from the violation. She'd gotten a new number. The tone was vintage Qley, dismissive, minimizing, the blame neatly placed at my feet. Sulking. Overreacted. I didn't open it. I swiped the notification away, went into my phone settings, and blocked the new number. The action was becoming familiar. A strange, sick part of me had almost been waiting for it. This was her script. I was supposed to be begging for an explanation by now. My silence was forcing her to write new lines, and she didn't like it. Day 5. Another new number. This one came in the evening. Unknown number. Mark's gone. Back to whatever city he's failing in this month. Can we talk? This is childish, Alex. You're throwing away 3 years over a misunderstanding. Childish. The word was a spark to tinder. I felt the heat in my cheeks. She'd brought a grenade to our relationship, pulled the pin, and was now calling me childish for not wanting to hold the shrapnel. And the detail about Mark being gone, it wasn't an apology. It was inventory. The toy I used to hurt you is put away now, so stop crying. I blocked this number too, my thumb hitting the button with more force than necessary. Misunderstanding. Right. I understood perfectly. Day 7. I was making coffee when my landline rang. I almost never used it. Only telemarketers and family. I picked it up. Hello. A pause. Then her voice, strained and oddly formal. Alex. It's me. I said nothing. I just listened to the silence on the line, the faint sound of her breathing. Look, she continued, rushing now. I'm calling to say I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry if you got the wrong idea. It wasn't what you thought. Mark was he was in a bad place. I was being a friend. You're being really unfair, cutting me off like this. We need to discuss this like adults. Call me back. The message hung there, a masterpiece of non-apology. I'm sorry if you got the wrong idea. I'm sorry I deliberately humiliated you. It wasn't what you thought. It was exactly what I thought. You're being really unfair. The ultimate reversal. The victim casting herself as the wrong party. I placed the handset back in its cradle without a word. I didn't slam it. I just set it down. Then I walked over, unplugged the phone from the wall, and coiled the cord. I put it in a drawer. The silence returned, deeper now. Day 10. My personal cell rang. The screen showed Sarah, Chloe's best friend, the architect of countless girls' nights, the sympathetic ear when we had fights, the one who'd told me last Christmas, "You're so good for her, Alex. She's lucky to have you." My first instinct was to ignore it, but a colder, more curious part of me wondered what the talking points would be. I answered, "Alex, hey." Sarah's voice was all contrite warmth. How are you holding up?" "I'm fine, Sarah. What can I do for you?" I kept my tone neutral, polite, the tone you'd use with a client's assistant. She sighed, a performative, weary sound. "Look, I'll get right to it. Chloe's a mess. Like, a total wreck. She feels awful." I waited. She knows she messed up. That thing with Mark, it was a huge misunderstanding. He manipulated the situation. You know how he is. She was just trying to be nice, and it backfired. She just wants to see you, to apologize properly, face to face. This silence is killing her. I looked out my window at the city skyline. The sun was setting. "Sarah, I appreciate you calling." "I do. But there's no misunderstanding to clarify. She made a choice to bring another man to a private anniversary dinner I planned for us. She chose to speak to me with contempt when I was hurt. The relationship is over. I'd prefer not to discuss it further." The line was quiet for a beat. My calm, unbroken delivery had thrown her. She was expecting anger, or grief, or at least an argument. She wasn't prepared for a simple statement of fact. "But you guys were so good together," she protested, her voice rising slightly. 3 years, Alex. Don't you miss her? Don't you love her anymore?" This was the core of it. The emotional blackmail. The idea that love meant tolerating boundless disrespect. I felt a sudden, clear pity for Sarah. She lived in Chloe's orbit, where this logic probably made sense. "I missed the person I thought she was," I said, my voice still even. "I don't know the person who did that. And that's the person I'd be talking to now. So no, I'm not interested. Please don't call me again to mediate." "Alex, wait. Goodbye, Sarah." I ended the call. I didn't block her number. Not yet. But I placed the phone back on the table. The evening stretched before me, quiet and mine. The first wave of her assault, the dismissive texts, the pleading voicemail, the flying monkey envoy, had broken against a wall of simple, unresponsive silence. She was still talking, still performing, but I was no longer in the audience. I had left the theater. The pain was still a dull ache, a phantom limb, but it was mine now. It wasn't something she could poke and prod for a reaction. I sat in the quiet, and for the first time, it didn't feel hollow. It felt like peace, fragile and earned, and I was determined to protect it. The silence became a habit, then a preference. The world, which had narrowed to the pinpoint agony of that dinner table, began slowly, stubbornly, to widen again. I didn't heal in a straight line. Some mornings, the anger was a cold stone in my gut. Others, a hollow sadness would catch me off guard in the cereal aisle. But I was moving. Ben's gym sessions became a ritual. The data project at work was a labyrinth I could get lost in, and my boss noticed, praising my focus. I'd built a fragile, quiet life in the ruins. A week after the call with Sarah, Ben and I were finishing a set of deadlifts when he wiped his face with a towel and said, casually, "Heard a thing from Katie, you know, who works with Chloe's cousin." I braced myself, setting the bar down. "Yeah. Turns out Prince Charming Mark was literally couch surfing. Convinced Qley to let him crash at her place for a couple nights after your incident. Lasted 4. Borrowed $300 for a business opportunity. Then ghosted. Phone disconnected. Socials gone." I leaned against the rack. I felt no schadenfreude, just a weary validation. He hadn't wanted her. He'd wanted a soft place to land and some walking around money. She'd traded 3 years of stability for a grift. "The kicker," Ben continued, watching my reaction, "is that Chloe's telling people you abandoned her in her time of need. That you were looking for an excuse to bail and used the dinner thing as your out. She's playing the victim. Hard." That, finally, sparked something. Not anger, but a profound disgust. The sheer audacity of the rewrite. She was erasing her own cruelty and painting my dignified exit as a coward's flight. My silence, which had been my shield, was being used as a weapon against me in the court of mutual acquaintances. "Let her talk," I said, my voice flat. "The people who matter will see it." Ben nodded, respecting my stance. But I knew the score. Reputations are fragile. Hers was now a project, and she was working overtime. 2 days later, my phone buzzed with a text. Sarah, I expected another round of lobbying, prepared to ignore it. But the preview was different. Sarah, hey, I know this is weird, and I'm probably the last person you want to hear from, but I need to apologize. I stared at it for a full minute. Then I opened it. Sarah, I called you as a friend. Qley's friend. I didn't have the full story. She told me you stormed out over nothing and were giving her the silent treatment to punish her. She made it sound like you were controlling. Sarah. Then last night, she was crying at my place, trying to prove how casual the dinner was. She forwarded me the reservation email you sent her. The subject line wasn't dinner plans. It was anniversary dinner reservations, Bistro Lumiere. Sarah, I felt like an idiot. And like I was used. I'm sorry, Alex. Truly, what she did was cruel. I wouldn't have called if I'd known. The words were a small earthquake in the quiet landscape of my new life. This wasn't manipulation. It was a capitulation. An admission that she, too, had been fed a narrative. The forwarded email was the kill shot, a piece of objective evidence Qley, in her self-pity, had accidentally weaponized against herself. I didn't reply immediately. I let it sit. I thought about the Sarah I knew, not as Qley's appendage, but as a person. She was sharp, often quietly observing while Qley held the spotlight. She had a dry wit Qley didn't always get. She'd been a constant in the background of our relationship, usually rolling her eyes fondly at Qley's dramatics. But this wasn't a fond eye roll. This was a line being seen and crossed. After an hour, I typed back. Me, apology accepted. Thank you for telling me. I hope you're okay. Her reply was swift. Sarah, I'm embarrassed. And pissed off. Not at you. At being a pawn. She's spinning this epic tragedy and I was handing her the tissues. Me, it's what she does. The narrative always has to favor her. Sarah, God yes. That's it exactly. It's exhausting. A pause. Then, Sarah, look, I know this is beyond awkward, but if you're willing, coffee? As two people who got played by the same maestro? No agenda. Just clearing the air so it's not a weird thing hanging in the world. I considered it. There was risk. It could be a trap, an elaborate ambush. But my gut said no. The detail about the email subject line was too specific, too damning for Qley. Sarah was risking her friendship by even admitting she'd seen it. I agreed. We met at a neutral, busy coffee shop far from either of our neighborhoods. She was already there, looking nervous, stirring a latte. When I approached, she gave me a small, hesitant smile that held no artifice. Thanks for coming, she said. Thanks for the honesty, I replied, sitting. The conversation was stilted at first, orbiting the weather, the coffee. Then she sighed, setting her spoon down. I really am so sorry, Alex. For the call. I felt like a puppet. She was crying, saying you'd ghosted her over an innocent mistake, and I just defaulted to support mode. It's my pattern with her. But seeing that email, it wasn't a mistake. It was a targeted strike. I nodded. It was a demonstration. To show me my place. And to show him he still had a claim. It's sociopathic when you say it out loud, she murmured, paling slightly. And the stuff she's saying now, about you being insecure, about you possibly cheating first, it's getting uglier. That was new. The narrative was evolving, escalating to justify her victimhood. I felt a distant chill. Let her talk. I repeated, though it felt less certain now. It's just, I've known her since college. The drama, the need to be the center, it was always there. But it was usually harmless. This is different. This is cruel. And seeing it directed at you, who was always so patient with her. She trailed off, looking genuinely distressed. I think I've been a bad friend. To both of you. Enabling her, and not seeing what it cost you. Her self-awareness was disarming. We talked for an hour. Not just about Qley, but about the fallout. How I was coping. How she was reassessing their friendship. I found myself relaxing. She asked questions and actually listened to the answers. There was no performance. It was just two people in the debris field of the same emotional bomb, comparing notes. We parted with a slightly less awkward smile. Thanks for the sanity check, she said. Anytime, I replied, and meant it. The text started a few days later. Not frequent. A funny meme about Bistro Lumiere's overly ornate menu descriptions. An article about the grift economy Mark probably belonged to. It was quiet, mutual reconnaissance. A shared language of recovery. A lunch followed, then a walk in the park. It wasn't a date. It was simpler than that. It was companionship with someone who understood the source of the poison without having to have it explained. The careful wall I'd built around myself had a gate in it now, and it wasn't a weakness. It felt, strangely, like a part of the strength. 3 weeks after the dinner, Sarah and I were at a cozy, unpretentious Italian place known for its pizza. We'd finished a shared salad and were debating pepperoni versus sausage. We were laughing, actually laughing. The sound felt foreign and good in my throat. She was telling a story about a disastrous work presentation, her hands animated, her eyes bright. I was leaning in, listening. I was, for the first time in a month, not looking backward. I was just here. And then, the atmosphere at our table changed. A sudden drop in pressure. Sarah's smile froze, then faded. Her eyes flickered over my shoulder, widening slightly. I knew before I turned. Qley stood 5 feet from our table. She wasn't alone. A woman from her spin class stood behind her, looking mortified. Qley's face was a mask of perfect, porcelain shock that was rapidly cracking, revealing the raw, furious betrayal beneath. Her eyes were huge, darting from me to Sarah's hand which was resting on the table near mine. The entire restaurant seemed to hush, senses tuned to the impending detonation. What the hell is this? Qley's voice wasn't a shout. It was a razor-sharp whisper that carried to every corner of the room. It was packed with so much venom it seemed to distort the air around us. Sarah withdrew her hand, not guiltily, but as if bracing for impact. "Qley," she said, her voice calm but tight. I didn't stand. I slowly turned in my chair to face her fully. I felt that same, profound calm from the bistro settle over me. The protective glass was back. She was on the other side, in a different world. "Alex." Qley's gaze drilled into me, demanding an answer, an explanation, a submission. "Sarah? My best friend? Are you kidding me?" The last word cracked, rising in volume. "We're having dinner, Qley," I said. My voice was quiet, measured, a stark contrast to her vibrating intensity. "You're interrupting." It was the wrong thing to say. It was the truthful thing to say. It detonated her. "Having dinner?" She took a step closer, her finger jabbing the air between us. "You're on a date. With her. Is this your pathetic revenge, Alex? You couldn't handle me being happy, so you crawl to my best friend? You sick, pathetic." "Qley, stop." Sarah's voice cut through, firm now. "It's not like that. Don't you dare speak to me." Qley shrieked, her focus whipping to Sarah. The spin class friend had taken a full step back, wanting to vanish. "You traitorous bitch. You've been waiting for this, haven't you?" Plotting with him the second I had a moment of weakness. This was the unraveling. The true colors, vivid and ugly, on display for a room full of strangers enjoying their garlic bread. There was no performance left, only the raw, entitled core. I looked at her, this stranger hurling accusations. I felt nothing. No anger, no hurt, not even pity. Just a distant, analytical curiosity. "So this is who you really are when the audience isn't buying your act." "Qley," I said, and my tone, polite, final, utterly disinterested, made her stop mid-inhale. She looked at me, expecting a fight, begging for a drama she could win. I gave her nothing. "This isn't about you," I continued, as if explaining a simple concept to a child. "Sarah and I connected after you ended our relationship. We're having dinner. Please don't interrupt it." The reframing landed like a hammer. "After you ended our relationship." I wasn't the one who'd walked out. I just believed her when she showed me the door. Her face contorted. "I ended it. You walked out. You abandoned me over nothing." I held her gaze. The silence stretched. The entire restaurant was holding its breath. "You showed me exactly who you were," I said, each word clear and cold. "I believed you. Now, you're making a scene. This is why we don't talk." I saw it hit her. The realization that my calm wasn't a tactic. It wasn't stoicism. It was indifference. I wasn't withholding attention to punish her. I had simply revoked her access to my attention permanently. She was a stranger causing a disturbance. Her breath came in ragged gasps. The fury morphed into something desperate, panicked. She looked at Sarah, then back at me, searching for a handhold in the cliff face of our apathy. She found none. You can't do this," she wailed, the last vestige of control gone. "After everything we had, you're betraying me with her. You're both monsters." A busboy had frozen nearby, trays in hand. A manager in a dark suit was now moving purposefully from the host's stand, his expression stern. I turned away from her. I looked at Sarah. The transformation in my demeanor was absolute. The cold, flat effect I'd shown Qley melted away, replaced by a look of simple, warm concern. My voice, when I spoke to Sarah, was soft, entirely different. "You okay?" I asked. "We can go if you want." It was the final, perfect dagger. The shift in tone, from discussing a nuisance to speaking to someone who mattered, was more devastating than any insult. It categorically placed Qley outside the sphere of things that could affect me. Sarah, pale but composed, nodded. "Yeah, let's go." I stood up, deliberately not looking at Qley. I pulled out my wallet, threw a generous stack of cash onto the table, enough to cover the bill and the uneaten pizza. I helped Sarah with her jacket, my hand briefly, reassuringly, on her shoulder. Qley stood there, utterly deflated, watching the choreography of our exit. The manager had reached her. "Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to lower your voice or leave." We walked past her. I didn't look back. I held the door open for Sarah, and we stepped out into the cool, clean night. Outside, Sarah let out a long, trembling breath. She wrapped her arms around herself. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry, Alex." I've never seen her like that. It was like watching a possession. I turned to her. The adrenaline was a faint buzz, but the calm was deeper, solid. "Don't apologize. You didn't do anything wrong." "I meant it. Are you okay?" That was intense. She gave a shaky laugh. "I will be. I just lost my appetite for fancy Italian." A genuine smile touched my lips. "Me too. Come on." I nodded down the street, away from the restaurant, away from the echoing drama. "Let's get some real food. I know a great pizza place." She looked at me, really looked, and saw the absence of chaos in my eyes. She saw that I was already moving forward, that the scene behind us was just noise. She smiled back, a real one this time. "Yeah, that sounds perfect." I took her hand. It wasn't a dramatic gesture. It was simple, a point of contact in the quiet night. We started walking. Behind us, the muffled sound of the manager's firm voice and a single, hysterical sob faded into the city's hum, becoming just another insignificant sound in the tapestry of a life I no longer lived. I didn't think about Qley. I didn't wonder what she'd do next. I thought about whether I wanted mushrooms on the pizza. I thought about the warmth of Sarah's hand in mine. I thought about the quiet peace of the last few weeks, and how it wasn't an absence anymore, but something being built. The last thing I heard was the distant chime of the restaurant door closing, a full stop on a sentence that had ended for me a long, long time ago. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. What do you think about this story? Share it in the comments.